Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Ear to the Ground podcast. I'm Billy and I'm here with Danny and Faith. Coming up on today's programme, we've got a little bit of news for you, followed by a review of the Lego Ninjago movie, a review of the ITV series Liar, and Quickly Kevin Will He Score, which is a podcast about football. News. So let's go right into the news. First of all, we've got the CEO of Channel 4 says that viewers prefer the Channel 4's version of Bake Off to the BBC version.
Yeah, I watch it and I think that it is pretty good. But to be honest, I didn't really pay much attention to the first one. So, but I know so it's hard to sort of judge it. I never got hooked on the first one, which is, well, I wouldn't say I'm hooked on this one, but I like it enough. I want to watch it every week. I'm involved on it, and I'm rooting for people to win it now. So
I thought you'd be the type of person to be big into baking anyway.
No, I'm really not, and I've had this problem.
That's
I remember.
what he tells people. He loves it.
He goes home, gets his pinny on,
straight
gets
away.
his rolling pin out, ties his hair up in the bun.
My pinny's a bloke with a six-pack.
You want to see his pavlova? It's a showstopper. Pun intended.
Yeah, that.
Because Faith just stopped the show to interrupt him there.
So,
excuse me, I'm part of this thing. I'm part of this.
I know, yeah.
Horse and carriage.
And I've last season I got tried to made to watch it, and I was like, no chance, I'm not watching it at all.
Made to watch it.
Do you know when you're in
to this chair with his eyes pinned open?
Well, no, but when you're
Orange.
in a relationship and they sort of go, oh, we should watch this together, and I was like, there's no chance I'm watching it, no way. And then now that she lives further away from me, I watch it all the time. And
there you go.
I think if you did a survey of all the men that admit to watching Great British Bake Off, 75% would have the same reason they watch it as you.
What?
They're forced to watch it by a partner.
But I've not been forced to watch it this time.
Oh.
I refused to watch it the first time round, but this time I've actually
maybe
just done it off my own back.
50% of that 75% watch it because
they like it. I feel like I'm transfixed by it. It's not actually doing much to me. I just
Great
interested
British
in it.
Bake Off are very good at making you care about the slightest little thing. It's
Yeah.
they make these moments so tense. It's I want to know if that sourdough rises. You don't you wouldn't. Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes me
you wouldn't
hungry,
really care in everyday life. But is it just are they dragging along a dead horse? Are they just doing it because it's Bake Off?
Well, it's pretty new to me, so I don't know. But from what I can gather from this series, they've actually done stuff which they've never done before. So they did an Italian week and stuff like that, and then a caramel week. So they're making the bakers do different stuff, which
caramel.
I thought that's what they did before though. I only watched. I watched a few. Yeah, I watched a few episodes when it was on BBC, and it was really big.
Good one.
Yeah.
Great point, well made.
Great point. No, I had a point there.
Say it again.
I was going
Do it
to.
again.
I was going to a bigger point that Channel 4's version just seems exactly the same to me. Apparently, but apart from with different presenters.
It's very, very similar.
Yeah.
Although, I thought Noel Fielding would be funnier.
I thought that as well. I watched a bit of it for the first
wrong.
time last night, the Channel 4 one,
Mm.
and I thought Noel sounded more like he was reading from a script than when he's in things where he's actually reading from a script.
I
felt a bit red and a bit forced.
Yeah, I agree. I think the little things they do, like when they're saying they've got 5 minutes left to bake, the little skits they do.
Yeah, it actually feels like
fun.
that's just been recorded elsewhere, and not actually in the time. There's that must be the case, mustn't it?
Well, yeah, it will be.
Yeah, it just
it feels a bit fake and forced. I guess that's with I've never been a fan of Top Gear, and do you know how they sort of make it half about when they all do competitions and things, and they sort of make it half about a competition but mostly about
the banter.
Yeah. They make elaborate jokes and things.
But in his defence, I think that it's pretty hard for a baking show for Noel Fielding to be Noel Fielding, to be that extravagant and outrageous person, because he's not really got much of a platform to.
It's a family show as well, really.
Yeah, he's not really got a platform to actually be himself, because all he's doing is walking around talking to the bakers, which is a pretty boring
yeah.
subject anyway.
And that's like a presenter's job, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's maybe why Noel Fielding isn't a presenter. He's a comedian, isn't he?
He must be on. He must be rolling in
He must be from that.
top tax bracket stuff. That.
All right. Well, enough commenting about Noel Fielding's tax bracket. What about the other judges?
On Sunday.
Corker.
Yeah, I was laughing my head off. I was watching football and I just put on Twitter, and it was just as it had happened that Gemma Collins had fallen off the stage at the Radio 1
we're talking
Teen
about
Awards.
that now.
Yeah.
There we go.
Why? Where did you think we were going?
No. I just thought.
Where did you think we were going?
To more
big
cakes.
News. Oh no.
Yeah,
And I was laughing my head off, and I still find it funny now.
No, it is funny.
It is
It's
quite
hilarious, to be honest.
funny.
So
I mean,
yes,
I don't find people falling over that funny, but this is.
I don't find Gemma Collins funny.
I mean, no one finds her like.
People laugh at her,
I
don't
really
they?
need
But, I
to
mean,
watch what I say here.
Yeah, without being offensive.
Yeah.
people laugh at her,
Um,
don't they? But people don't really laugh with her.
I think just
I
to
don't
like
think she means to be
just
funny.
to clear it up, if no one's seen this, that she was presenting an award for at the Radio 1 Teen Awards, and as she's announced the winner, which was Love Island, I think, and she's swiveled and then fallen down some
There
steps.
was like a middle bit of a stage that was coming up, wasn't
She
it?
like twirled into the ground.
It almost looked like it was choreographed.
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 Easy for me to say. But yeah, it was almost like that.
Yeah, it is quite funny. I mean, that one with was it Britney Spears where she got dragged by a cape? Madonna, that one.
Oh, that was
that was
brilliant.
quite funny.
May
as
we
well.
never forget. That was great. That was
to
like.
say you don't like people falling over, Faith. You seem to quite like these people falling over.
I just say that to like cover my own back to make people think I'm nice. The
And
Cape Gate was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like no one knew what to do. Everyone was like, "Oh, is that part of it?" It was
Public
like live
spectacle.
on the yeah.
To be totally honest, I didn't really notice it.
Didn't
I was
notice-
with
how
my
could
mum.
you
I
not
was like, I
notice
don't
it?
know. I weren't really paying much
I think it's an
attention
experimental dance move.
to the Brits anyway. I sort of like lost my respect for it, if I'm totally honest.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But that's
well,
another
a big
point.
political statement.
Another point for another day.
I'm
But,
just too
yeah.
alternative for this.
And I won't say that. And back to the point, Gemma Collins is after. She's saying she'll consult a lawyer because the BBC haven't been in touch with her with any compensation or anything, or even an apology. But to be totally honest, it's her fault, isn't it?
She fell down a hole.
Yeah, she twirled down this hole. It wasn't no one else's
Well,
fault.
if you think it's a live TV program, so there'll be rehearsals.
Yeah, I was going to say they will have done several rehearsals.
She'll have known that was there.
Do you know
Political correctness gone mad.
Isn't it?
Not so many.
The thing is, though, they will have rehearsed this several times.
I know. It almost makes me think that she might have done it on purpose to get this profile.
I don't think she's a cunning.
No, I think that fall was too good. It was.
I don't think she's a cunning mastermind to try and get this.
Yeah,
on
no, I
TV.
don't
The
think
cynic
she's
in me.
really like
I'm
the
just thinking,
brains behind a master plan or anything.
I mean, yeah, she's a reality TV star, so basically
Yeah.
everything she does is for publicity. But I think things just happen, and then she plays them for publicity.
that is absolutely ridiculous, though. It's not her. It's not anyone else's fault that she's fallen downstairs. Like you said, they must have gone through it 3 or 4 times, mustn't
Yeah, I mean, we know the sort of planning that goes into TV shows and whatnot, and they might have like production
they? Yeah. Especially,
paperwork
yeah, for
that would
like
have gone with that. So they're probably like insured up to their eyes, so that she couldn't do anything to them. I don't think.
no.
Personally, that's my 2 cents on that.
Where there's blame, there's a claim.
Exactly.
It's like
There's always a
someone
claim.
when you're a kid and someone foot that you fall over and then you're like, they pushed me. It's like, no, you fell over on your own.
Well, it's saying like the BBC have put out a bit of a statement. It says, but that Gemma did receive a full briefing before going on stage, so she knew the
there you
score
go.
basically, didn't she? She's just after a bit of bit more publicity and a bit of sympathy, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think if it hadn't have been such a big deal, she probably wouldn't have said anything. But because everyone's latched onto it and it's gone viral,
Yeah. And to be
and
honest,
everyone's made a meme
I
out
doubt
of
she
it.
feels embarrassed though, because like
I haven't got
the
any
whole
time
thing
for her
is-
as well, though.
No,
Like,
I don't.
just feel like, and I know
Yeah.
it sounds pretty harsh, but I just haven't got any time for her. I don't find her funny, or I don't like the only way is Essex. So
I
yeah,
don't-
I'm just like,
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I wish she did that, like, she, like, skinny shamed some people. I can't really remember. It's like no skinny girls welcome, something like that. I don't know.
No, I've never seen that, but yeah.
I just
There's
don't
a
like it.
there's a point for us to ponder on, isn't there?
So what Gemma Collins may or may not have said at some point in her life.
Yeah. Well, on that bombshell.
Right, Danny, we're not on Top Gear. We're going on to
Yeah.
the film reviews,
Film.
which is one that I went to see. Again, what a shock.
Ninjago.
I know. Every
Ninjago,
single
Faith.
every
No.
single one is
Ninjago.
what you've watched.
Yeah, because Billy's the only one that watches films. You watch a new film every week. I remember
I
this the
know.
other day. That's crazy.
Is it?
He
I-
loves a cinema date with one of his
Yeah,
student
The last
mates,
time I
doesn't he?
went to the cinema
Zach.
Alright, make him sound like a
must have
little
been a
pet.
couple of months ago. You go every week.
Yeah.
You little cuties. Do you sit on the back row?
Yeah, and they
no.
canoodle.
With K,
Do you-
8 and 9 are our seats.
Do you actually do you take turns in who buys everything?
Sometimes.
Like it's a date.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this.
No, we usually buy our own things. We pay separately.
They've
we're
got,
quite,
they've
we're
got
quite
specific
independent from
seats.
each other.
They sit in the same. Do you sit in the same seats every week?
Yeah, you just glossed over that.
Is it any? Is
if
it
they're available?
K8 and
Is
9.
there is the cinema usually busy? Because you go round
Not
about dinner time,
really.
don't you?
Yeah, not usually, no.
And
So,
they usually go
Ninjago-
to some sort of buffet, or you can eat buffet either before or
We've
afterwards.
been
Tops is a favourite.
we've been to quite a few times where to kids films where we've been like the only people in, and in fact with Ninjago it was literally us and this young couple down at the front.
I
And
bet.
yeah, it's better than having screaming kids, to be fair.
I bet you. I bet you still sit next to each other when there's no one in, don't you? Like
Why
you don't
would
even
we?
Well,
know.
why would they sit
Well,
apart from
no,
each other?
no,
Sorry,
but-
I'll just sit on the other side.
No,
of the
like-
cinema.
Yeah.
like have a gap in between you or something.
No,
No.
I've got a spare chair at the side of me.
Yeah, I suppose.
They like to keep warm. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're not reviewing Zach
No.
and Billy's date. We're
This is
reviewing.
the Lego Ninjago,
Yeah.
the movie.
You ready for me to conquer Ninjago?
Oh, I'll be waiting. Dad.
Sorry? What was that last thing you said?
What?
That last part, I didn't catch it.
Well, I didn't say anything. What do you mean? I didn't. I said I'll be waiting, and then I stopped talking. Dad.
Lloyd?
That's right. Your son, and it's Lloyd.
No. Lloyd. I named you.
You ruined my life.
That's not true. I haven't even been a part of your life. How could I ruin it? I wasn't even there.
So, Danny, have you watched the Lego Movie, Faith? You haven't,
Yes,
have you?
I've watched the Lego Movie.
Danny is saying he hasn't seen any of the Lego.
Oh.
No,
things.
I've not.
But yeah, I think they're really good. They are kids' films, obviously.
They are, but they're like pretty.
They're,
Well, I was
they've got pretty
surprised.
adult themes. I'd say
Yeah.
Ninjago is probably the most kid-ish of
Kiddie.
yeah, kiddie, family orientated of all the Lego things up to now. Because like Batman, obviously, lots of people like Batman of all ages.
Yeah.
So Lego Batman can appeal to anyone really. But Ninjago, you don't necessarily have to know what it is to go in and watch it because it's basically Power Rangers. It's basically Lego's version of Power Rangers. Like they all are a different colour thing, and they all each have a robot thing that they pilot.
Right.
But that's not really the focus. It's more like a parody of Power Rangers, if you know what I mean.
It's like comedy of the year or something like that, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know. I saw it on the telly the other night.
Really?
Like an advert for it. I'm pretty sure it said like comedy of the year.
Comedy of
I
the
think
year.
they all just say that on the adverts, though, don't they?
That,
It's
Dunno.
quite a lofty claim to make. I
that's
wouldn't say
Yeah.
that says a lot about comedy films, like the genre of comedy films. If
Yeah, family comedy, possibly.
yeah,
I mean, Lego Batman came out this year still, so I don't think
Wow.
it's better than Lego Batman. Anyway, so this is about Lloyd, or the Lloyd, as his
That's
dad calls
brilliant.
him. Faith watched the trailer. And he is a normal kid, and everyone hates him because his dad is Garmadon, who's an evil villain who attacks the town of Ninjago every so often.
A relatable storyline then.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
tries to take it over, but every time he's thwarted by these ninja guys.
Thwarted. Good
Thwarted,
word.
Yeah.
who are all like dressed up, and Lloyd, I keep wanting to say Emmett because that's the guy from the Lego Movie, is the green ninja guy secretly,
Is it? Do you get a bit? Is it a bit samey? Like, obviously, I know there's different plots, but is it not like
What from the
Like,
Lego Movie?
yeah, from each one? Obviously, they're like similar. They must be similar in a way that they're all.
Sort of. Well, if you watch the Lego Movie, it's basically all of Lego. That's the plot of the Lego Movie. That there's every like they go to basically this council place where there's every Lego set in existence. Like there's The Simpsons and there's Star Wars and there's like all the Lego sets that there is in like convening in one room.
Yeah.
And the plot is basically like kind of a parody of The Matrix, like sort of chosen one person who has to go to this other realm, and
Yeah.
it's all very like parodic.
Right.
Is that a word?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well,
You're the
I've
one who
just
brings
said
the
it.
fancy words.
I've coined the term.
Take
Parodic.
a chance on it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's probably the most kid friendly version of what the Lego thing is, but I think,
Yeah.
and it's probably the weakest out of them all for me anyway. And it's been getting like pretty bad reviews, but I think it still leagues above any other sort of
Right.
pandering like
What-
Minions family film or whatever. Or
Is it called
Yeah.
Ninjago?
For some reason, it just makes me think that it's like a Jumanji version,
There's a-
but it's obviously not, is it?
no,
There's a
no.
guy in the film called Kumai Ninjanji.
Yeah, he plays the
Coincidence?
blue ninja.
I think not.
I think not. Clacked it.
I don't think the casting based on his name and how
No.
much it
I
sounds like
think they
Ninjago.
casted him and they weren't decided on the name. And then they were like, Ninjani. That's a good name.
Well, Ninjago is quite a well-known Lego like set thing.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Well, among 7-year-olds it is.
Yeah,
so-
I don't really mix with 7-year-olds, so I
Well,
can't say no.
Well,
anyway.
but yeah.
So the directors of this film are there's 3 directors, and Charlie Bean, who's one of them, has worked on a lot of like 90s animation, like Animaniacs and Batman the Animated Series and sort of things like that.
Does it
Mostly
come
TV
across?
stuff.
like-
Yeah, it's got the same sort of sense of humour as those kind of shows. It reminds me of almost sort of Family Guy humour, but for kids.
Right.
But like, and that there's some sort of satire and like clever bits in there, but like mainly it's just sort of slapstick joke, like with the slapstick joke sort of stuff on top.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
liked the trailer from what I saw of it.
yeah.
If I went and saw a film every week, I'd probably go and see it.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest, it
Better
does
than-
sound like my kind of film as well, because I love like a family comedy.
Then I
That's
definitely
good.
recommend.
So we can take his
I
family.
definitely recommend the Lego Movie and the Lego Batman movie and this one
And
as well.
Lego as a toy.
Lego Ninjago. You
Isn't-
don't have to. There's not like references to, like you don't have to watch all 80 series of the show to
Yeah.
get what the film is. Like
No.
the film starts from the start basically. And yeah, I think it's really good. It's probably got the most sort of formulaic plot, and Jackie Chan's in it quite a bit as well, which is
Yeah.
always nice to see.
He
Jackie
plays
Chan
an
in
elderly shopkeeper.
Yeah,
Called
that's sort of
Master Wu.
the framing device.
Yeah.
Master Wu is also the Lego figure
Oh,
that's
no.
the master guy,
He's the
and he's
yeah.
also an elderly shop guy as a framing device.
Oh.
Anyway, it has probably got the most sort of the least subversive, I guess, like the least satirical. It mainly plays off sort of Power Rangers tropes and things like that, and
Right.
like how the main thing is that Garmadon keeps attacking the city, and every time he comes back with like shark fueled machines, and a bit like Austin Powers with like Dr. Evil's sharks with laser beams
yeah
thing.
gadgets.
Yeah, like over the top. But yeah, and he always gets foiled, and that's sort of like a running joke in the thing.
Yeah. So would you recommend it then?
I would for all ages mainly, but bearing in mind that you probably have to prepare yourself from a step down from Lego Movie and Lego Batman. But
If you've seen it.
Brace
if you've
yourself.
seen those, yeah,
Yeah.
then but if you go in like with lower expectations than that, then you'll probably, like I did then, like I was pleasantly surprised with how good it was, just because those kind of films by Warner Animation Group, I think it is, are always better than other like family friendly films, I think anyway.
Yeah.
We'll move
Moving on to
Yeah. So
TV, and you've been watching Liar, haven't you?
TV. Yeah, we're gonna move on to Liar, which has been like a drama on ITV. It had 6 episodes. It finished on the 16th of October, and I would definitely recommend watching it.
Hi.
Hi. Andrew and I went out on
a drink. She
I
invited me
invited
back to
him.
hers. We had
He
a glass
was
of
a wine.
wine.
I remember
Started
kissing him.
We laid down on the bed, okay?
He was on top of me.
Yes.
I remember him
Did you push
pushing
her
me
down?
down.
No, God, no. So I got up.
Maybe
I
he
went
went
over
into
to
the
the
bathroom. I
bathroom.
don't know. And I think
No point
that's
did
when
she
I
ask me
told
to
him to
stop.
I can't remember.
I don't know why she'd say something like this. How much don't you remember?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
If
I'm
I thought
making
for
it.
1 second that she
I
didn't
wasn't
want to
drunk.
sleep with me,
How do I
you
know
have
they
to believe me.
It stars Joanne Frogger, who was out in Downton Abbey, and Fantastic Four actor Ian Gufford.
Ian.
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Ewan.
Ian.
Ewan.
Ewan.
Yeah.
Ewan
Ian.
Gufford. Yeah,
Great
and
on
it
the
tells basically it tells a
pronunciation.
story that Joanne's character had just had a long-term breakup, so it's like Laura Nielsen, that's her character, and Yayan is Andrew Earlham.
Yayan.
It
You're
changes
making
every
this
time you
guy's
say it.
name
All
up.
right,
What's his
spell
name?
it out for me. Spell it
I
out
don't
for
know.
me.
Ioan. Yayan.
Ewan.
Ewan.
Ewan
Well, we'll do
Gufford.
that. Anyway, Andrew Earlham, that's his character. So he's a widowed surgeon, and he comes across as basically the perfect guy. Basically, he's a doctor, and he works with Laura's sister, and so he's just recently become widowed, and she's recently broke up with her long-term boyfriend, who it actually turns out that he's been having an affair, and but at this time she didn't know, and she's been told to get back in the game, basically get back in the dating game. So she meets him, has this date, and it's like it seems like it's a perfect date. They really get on, everything's going fine, and then he sort of walks her home, and then comes up with some sort of excuse that his phone's dead and he needs to ring a taxi. So then they go back into her house, one thing leads to another, and it comes up, she wakes up and she's like clearly distressed, and then she's like, she feels like she's been raped, so she rings the police. She goes, and then it's basically trying to guess who's lying, if he has actually raped her, and
God, that's a funny plot line to pick.
I know it's. Do you know what
That's-
I don't want to
Ooh.
like ruin it for you and anyone who is listening, but it is good. And she find like it's amazing how, as a viewer, I was completely, I'd made my mind up, like I knew who I believed in. That obviously that's how they want it to be portrayed, but I think everyone was doing that, even like Emily and my dad's wife was saying the same, like, oh, it's got to.
Who did you think it was?
I thought she was lying.
I
And
don't.
then, but that's the way it's portrayed, and it turns out that she'd reported a guy, because she's a school teacher, she reported a guy for like groping her, and then she dropped that because she'd been going through a lot of stuff in her personal life. So it sort of came across that she'd lied about that, and then they obviously wanted all the things to point at her, didn't they? And then you start to question him a little bit, and I might as well just go all out there, aren't I? He was like
Full
just
spoilers now.
yeah, full spoilers. He was basically just raping him, and it's turned out like he was doing lots and
Hang on,
lots of it.
Oh, so he
So-
was the one.
Yeah,
who
so he was
not
using
her.
He was
I
the
don't
liar.
like how they clearly framed it to make it look like she
But
was lying.
that's
I don't-
that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
doesn't sit right with me.
I know.
Are your feminist
I think,
senses
No,
tingling?
it's not. I don't. It's not even
well,
that.
I think the same. Like it's
It's
wrong.
controversial, but
I think it actually it is controversial, but it is like society now though,
yeah,
because
yeah.
how many times does it happen to women, and they don't want to like, or they do tell people, and then it's not actually like acted upon. It's just like, oh, well, Harvey Weinstein's probably a great example at this moment in time, isn't it? We're wanting to go into, because people had been saying it and then it's not happened. Like no one's acted upon it. So
Yeah.
whatever's happened with that has happened.
I
Don't wanna
think
go
it's a
too
good
far.
point. Yeah, I
But-
think it's a good point that it makes as a sort of subtext to make you not believe someone and then
Yeah.
make you feel awful for not believing them in the first place. Even though it's not real, I know, but
No, but
the way it's written like that is a
It-
good choice, I think.
yeah, it's, and I tell you what, like, it wasn't something what I wasn't like desperate to see it every weekend, but I really enjoyed it. And towards the end, there was some really like gripping parts of it. Like you didn't know what was going to happen. And I would say there's one thing what sort of disappointed me with it. Like the ending is a bit like, oh, I don't know whether they've just done it to like leak out a second series out of it, to draw something else out of it, because it is an open, like you don't know you know what's happened, but you don't know who's done it or what. Like, do you want me to tell you?
I'm so confused.
So basically, like, he gets found out that he's raped numerous women, and he takes them out on dates, and then just puts the date rape drug into the drinks, and then that's that, and he films them and stuff, and yeah, so it is very like disturbing, like to watch. I didn't that sort of stuff is just awful, isn't it? And yeah, so he gets found out, but then it was like, what's gonna happen to him? You find out what's happened to him, and then it's like, why? Like, and then it's basically just leaving it open for a second season, which was a bit disappointing because I found it a bit like, you know, like Broadchurch. Did you ever watch
I
that?
didn't watch it, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Broadchurch was the same. It was like a whodunit sort of thing, massive, and it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I was in every Monday night. I couldn't wait to watch it. And then they brought out a second season of the trial, and I just thought, it's a bit naff this. I don't like.
Dragging it on a bit.
Yeah,
much.
and I get the feeling that this is going to do the same. But it's like 6 episodes, and they're all an hour long. I'm sure they'll still be on the iPlayer because it's only just finished. On
ITV Hub.
ITV Hub, yeah. And yeah, and I would definitely give it a go because it's, I suppose if you listen to this, you'll already know who to believe, but it's worth
ruined it for
watching.
you.
It is a good
I suppose
good series.
it sounds like I watched The Following. That came out a while back, and it had Kevin Bacon in it, and there was sort of this like, it was a whodunit thing, and you knew who it was all the way
Yeah.
through, but they were like trying to catch him, and at the end, like he had lots of like cult followers and stuff, and at
Yeah.
the end, like the main guy died, and then it went on for like 3 more seasons, I think, with just like his other followers, and none of them were like as like interesting as the guy in the first
Yeah.
season that they killed at the end anyway. So
Yeah,
and
it's-
it didn't have personal stakes like the one in the first one did. So yeah, it is a bit stupid when they sort of. And do you think they could get another series out of the same story?
No, so basically I'm just gonna blow it all out
Blow
there.
it out of the water now. Shoot it
It
down.
ends up that he's dead. He's in like on like some marshland, but he's slit his throat, and it's the question whether he's committed suicide or not.
Oh,
and
someone's murdered him.
Yeah, so I was like, I've chatted about this with my dad and his wife, and we're all like, well, and they were saying, well, there isn't actually a murder. Like he hasn't killed himself because there's not a knife near him or anything. He's just lay there. So
the second
Yeah.
series could be a murder.
yeah, who's
story.
killed
Story.
him?
A
There's been
murder.
murder. But yeah, so I think that's where it's gonna go. But I just feel like it's a bit unnecessary. It had me. This program really had me, and it made me feel like I'd I don't know. I feel like I'd judged a woman when I shouldn't have, and I don't know. It made me question myself. But then I just feel like this
For
is
it to
just-
end like
yeah.
that, you want resolute,
Yeah,
absolute resolution.
I wanted him to get put in prison for ages and rot in hell.
Oh, God.
If I'm gonna
Anger.
get that, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. it was a bit annoying.
Bit annoying after all
'Cause
of that.
do you know that he's so smug and he knows that he was like antagonising her, like standing outside a window on the phone to her, and it was the most horrible thing to watch. Like I obviously invested in it quite a lot by the way I'm chatting, but yeah, and he was just so smug about it, and I can't stand that sort of stuff.
Makes for gripping drama.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we talk about your other thing as well?
Let's
which
go.
is podcast.
It is a full show of my recommendations, isn't it?
Podcast.
Anyway, this podcast which I'm going to recommend is called Quickly Kevin, Will He Score? The 90s Football Show. It's hosted by Josh Widdicombe, and he's joined by his friends, which is Chris. One of them's Chris Skull, and the sort of producer of the podcast is Michael Marden, who's he's the guy who doesn't really speak too much. He just joins in every now and again, and they just basically it's like, well, it says the description is that the trio embark on a tour of niche football topics of the period 1st of January 1990 to 31st of December 1999, and back in and. I know I'm a football fan, so I think it's pretty easy for me to get involved in it. But I do think that it'd be sorry. I do think that it'd be interesting for the person who isn't into football. It's more like comedy than football. They talk like they do have old footballers in for interviews, but it's more like the funny stories, what happened during them times, sort of thing. So back in the 90s, football wasn't as rich, and there wasn't such a fortune.
Lucrative.
Yeah. So and it
Pointless.
Nice word, Faye.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Good
and
vocab.
That's all I'm here for this week.
I think I just like reminiscing about the 90s and stuff like that.
Right, everyone was a bit nostalgic, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, I was 3 when the 90s ended, so I don't really have that much nostalgia apart from
We were still in nappies and you
Yeah.
were
defecating myself.
I was 9. I was born in 1990.
defecating myself. He was still defecating himself, but in a different way.
So like the one I've just listened to has James Acaster in it, who is like a very, very good comedian. They've got more successful now, so they've got more famous past footballers. But then at the start, like they were using just all their comedian friends, so it was a very I thought it was very relatable. So yeah, and I really like Josh Widdicombe. I think he's like hilarious. So I would definitely recommend it.
I like the fact that there's like more sports podcasts now.
Yeah, and it
makes me happy.
I think that you don't have to like know too much about 90s football to like
if
this.
something's
It's pretty
funny, like, do you know what I mean? Like, a good comedian can make anything relatable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's mainly
I
through
agree.
stories, isn't it, as well, like comedy. So I think that's football could be a good grounding for some of them stories,
Yeah.
and that's why.
But yeah.
It
So
works.
that is Quickly Kevin, Will He Score?
And it's probably like
Um,
refreshing to hear people like take the mick out of football and not have it taken so seriously,
Yeah.
because it can be taken very seriously, and then you're like, oh god, ugh, there is so much money in this.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, and it's sort of like looking back on the shall we
The
say
good old days.
Yeah, the good old
You were
days
gonna
of
say
not
that, weren't you?
not having like lots of money, and they were like doing like open like celebrity appearances at supermarkets openings and stuff like that, and it's just pretty funny in that
Before
sort of
PC went mad.
well, yeah, Thatcher's Britain.
Not quite. A bit after that, Danny. But yeah.
But yeah, so that's Quick Kevin, Will He Score. You can get it on iTunes and everything. It is really good. Definitely give it a listen. It's only an hour each show, so it's worth it. Worth your commute for giving it a go. So yeah, my recommendation.
Thank you.
Good. I am gonna step up my game for next week. I'm gonna bring a whole list of things I've been listening, watching, and
there you go.
eating.
Yeah.
Don't bring your food in.
I can tell you what I bought from the shops today,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
won't.
Right, yeah. So thanks for listening, and we shall see you again next week.